Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. Thought I would go through my giant box of, paper bag of books to give away and do a little unhauling video. So I'm going to keep this short, so I might actually just go through just a handful of the books that are in my giveaway bag. So here we go. Okay, first on my pile, I have The Folly of Fools, The Logic of Deceit and Self-Deception in Human Life by Robert Trivers. Bob Trivers was a professor at Rutgers University where I did my graduate degree, and I actually took a seminar with him where we read this book that he'd written, which I think can sometimes be a warning sign. Maybe avoid seminars where the only piece of assigned reading essentially is the book written by the professor. It was not a good class. This book is interesting. It goes a little bit far into kind of ascribing our ability to deceive ourselves with it. I think it makes it a little bit of a bigger deal than I was really buying, but it really is really interesting to think about how we can deceive ourselves in kind of all aspects of our life and make decisions based on really kind of a construction in our brains that isn't actually really what's happening. So this was, yeah, an interesting book to read, but definitely not something that I'm going to read again, and not something that I would necessarily like loan out to any of my friends, which is another reason for me to keep books if it's something where I think like, even if I wouldn't read it again, I just like really loved it or it really did something for me that I might want to pass on to somebody else at some point. So this book doesn't meet those criteria. Then the next book I'll briefly mention, this is called White Rabbit by Kate Phillips. And this is a book I just picked up like in a used bookstore at some point. This is an uncorrected proof publisher's copy. This book I actually almost thought about keeping. So it's kind of following an older woman. I forget how old she is in this book. It's been a while since I read it, but definitely like 70s, maybe early 80s, whose life has really slowed down. She and her husband are kind of in like an apartment complex for older folks. And it just follows like the tight little details of a couple days in her life. And I felt it was kind of pretty insightful about just what's important about life, what kind of marriage can look like when you've been together for a long time. She has kind of an interesting relationship with her kid. So it was interesting and kind of insightful enough that I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it 4 stars or something like that, but I don't think I'm going to read it again. It also was a little bit depressing. So I'm going to pass this one on. Then From the Listening Hills, Louis L'Amour. This is a collection of short stories, and Louis L'Amour is quite a famous Western writer of the American West and kind of the cowboy days. Although he goes a little bit more modern too, so I mean you can see there's a war playing here. So these short stories cover many different time periods, and a couple of them were really good. In particular, I liked some of the kind of the landscape writing and scene setting in some of these short stories, but for me, short story collections can often be hit or miss, and so that was true of this book. Some of the stories were just not things I want to go back to, and it's not worth, to me, keeping a volume where I might go back and read 1 or 2 stories. So that's going in the giveaway pile. Okay, then The Bees by Laline Paul. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I really enjoyed this book. This is a book about honeybees, and it follows a worker bee in a honeybee hive, and kind of throughout the whole cycle of this worker bee's life. I don't know a lot about honeybees, even though I research other bees. But from some colleagues of mine that do work with honeybees, the kind of science underlying this book is like pretty solid. There's a few things she kind of over dramatizes kind of for effect. This book is not science writing, so she clearly did her research, but it's a beautifully written fiction book. It's told from the perspective of a bee, so it's just a very different kind of view of the world. And this was, yeah, I definitely loved reading this. Um, just again, like with some of the other books I already talked about, it's just not something that I can really see myself going back to read again. And in terms of potentially recommending it to other people, while I did really enjoy it, because honeybees get a lot of attention anyway, I'm not necessarily gonna like, oh, my friend is interested in bees. I'm not gonna give them a fiction book about honeybees. I'm gonna give them actually probably some more popular science book about native bees and wild bees because they need all the attention they can get. So I'm not gonna hold on to this one. And then maybe I'll just do one more in the spirit of keeping this short. So How to Stop Time, Matt Haig. This is a book that I read for book club over the summer. And it was really fun. It's about the main character is somebody for whom time has or the effects of time, I guess, have really slowed down to almost nothing. So the people to whom that happens, they do age. It's just way slower. So they'll live for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so this book jumps back and forth in time a little bit from when he was a kid and his kind of slowing process started to happen, and how that affected his childhood and young adulthood. And then in the modern time, he's on a search for his daughter. Because I think he had maybe thought she was dead, but there's the kind of rumors that there've been rumors kind of all along that he's chased down, and so he doesn't really he doesn't know what happened to his daughter that he had when he was 400 years ago, a much younger man. So this book was really interesting. I think it did a good job interweaving the two timelines and jumping back and forth between them. And there were some really fun bits in the older timeline. Like at one point, he's involved with Shakespeare's acting company. He's not an actor. He's one of the musicians. But so there were like some really fun things. And there were a couple periods where the book felt insightful. Where I actually underlined a sentence or something. I felt like it was telling me something about life. But overall, this was enjoyable, but it's not something that I'm going to pick up and read again. I think if it were shorter, it actually might be something I would read again, and it's only 325 pages, so that's already pretty short. But so it was a quick read, but yeah, not. It's still just like it still didn't really fill this length, if that makes sense. So not something I'm going to read again. All right, I will stop there. And some other point when I need a distraction, I can do more of the books that I'm going to be getting rid of. So if you watch this, thanks. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe, hit the like button. I've been posting a lot of reviews, so you can check out reviews of some of the books that I've read. And let me know what you think. Thanks.